Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and today I get to interview Sujal. So Sujal, welcome, man.
Hey man, what's up?
Yeah, it's good to have you. Can you tell us your full type, please?
Yeah, so I'm an INTJ. I'm double feminine, NITE, blast play, consume sleep, and Dave also got me as a social two. So
Oh,
yeah,
awesome, man. And then what did you think and how did you feel when you got your results back?
you know, the moment I got my type back, right? I actually like the moment I looked at the type, I was like, this makes perfect sense. Because before I was revolving around a few types. I actually thought I was your type at some point. I thought I was NETE. Um, audio, play blast. But then people started typing me Dave's type. People started going, I'm NIFI, sleep blast. And I was like, huh, like where's the middle ground? And then when I saw that type NITE, I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. That's like the mesh between them. Um, and yeah, I definitely felt like the moment I got the type, I know a lot of people like um don't believe the type at first, but to me, it was like instant. It made sense.
Right. That's cool that you still saw like the NT in you because you thought you were NET, so you still saw the NT, and then
Yeah.
you saw like the tribe above self also, and then you saw the what was the other one that you saw? There was one more thing that you saw.
Play Blast.
Yeah, the blast play, the crackhead energy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was really weird. I always thought I was like NT play. I thought I was like just jumbling around, a bunch of connections and ideas with others. But I guess it's like more narrowed in, it's Blast. So that's kind of been messing with me, but yeah.
I think possibly also you thought you were like an EP because you have double activated SE at the bottom, so you're like
Oh yeah.
a
Yeah, for sure. Seeing my type twins, I have a few type twins that really don't appear that like, IJ like. And so I was kind of shocked when I was an IJ. I'm like, I'm an IJ. I'm like the most chaotic person I know. Like, that makes no sense. Um, but a lot of my type twins also weren't like super IJ-ish, and I think it made a lot of sense. Dave in the audio was like, yeah, so this type is like the most EP you can get with the IJs. So yeah.
yeah, for sure. Like my girlfriend is like sleep consume play blast INTJ, right? And then like no one would believe she's an IJ because she's so chaotic also. So
Oh
that
yeah, yeah, the blast last. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too. Yeah.
and not to mention, why don't we cover your sexual modalities first? Not to mention you're double feminine, so your sensory is like chaotic as well. Like and it's like
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think, at first I thought it was actually MF. And like some people also started typing me double masculine actually. Um, which, the reason why was because they thought I had double feminine sleep. Because I would like I thought, I was just like super floaty and blah 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 with my sleep. Turns out to be double masculine. I'm double feminine. And so my NI and FI are double masculine. And it's been weird, seeing that play out in my life because with the sexual modalities, it's like I am so ignorant of the sensory around me. Like it's really bad. A lot of my friends, we know when they come to see me, right? We go to like a bunch of places and they're like, you live in the city. Why don't you know these places? I'm like, I don't know, man. That's just who I am. I don't know.
so dude, let's talk about your sexual modality in the sense of tester and visual, okay? So
Okay.
um you have tester meaning you like to you have a strong sense of smell essentially, which is
Yeah.
also the same as taste. Can you talk about like that? And also because it's extrovert sensing, it's like you also like to try different sense and taste. Can you share a
Yeah.
bit about that?
Sure. So one of my hobbies is actually cooking, which, kind of ties into that, I guess. But yeah, I mean, the main thing I like about cooking, right, is that when I'm making all the foods and when I'm actually like cooking it, I can smell everything around me. And it's like I think that part of the cooking is like the best aspect, and the second best aspect is like giving it to people and seeing how they like, react. I guess that's just my DE in me. But in terms of like my tester, like smelling the food and like grabbing the food, putting it in, all that part of cooking, it's definitely like a big part of it. Yeah, for sure.
And what about the visual side? Are you a visual learner, would you say?
Oh yeah. Like big time visual learner. Like, how I studied math, right, when I was in calculus was I basically like just I didn't understand a concept until I just like made like a video in my head of it. It's like, oh, you know, what's an integral? Like when people is like explain the words to me, I was like, that makes no sense. But then when I like kind of visualized it out on the graph and like in my head, like made a whole video of it, like running and stuff, like that made a lot of sense. That's kind of it makes it easy to remember things because one reason I thought it was audio, right, was because I actually have a really good memory. Um, but the thing about that is all my memory is visual. So it's like I'm not remembering the specific sensory like da da da. I'm remembering more like the idea, and I am just really good at picking out the sensory from that.
All right, dude. I want to talk to you about your anti-blast next. So
Yeah.
your anti-blast is your first animal. However, it's not your double activated animal. So this kind of changes things a lot because I've interviewed other people with like same stack as you.
Yeah.
Might not be a double feminine, but same stack. And I noticed that like the double activated animal is the one that's actually the most obvious in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But let's talk about your first one first. Anti-blast, like can you talk about like taking your organized known information and teaching it to the tribe? And it's
Yeah, for sure. And I guess I'll talk about like why I thought I was NT play and then compared to now like processing NT blast. So like before I thought I was like, when I was helping people or working things out, in my head I was like, oh, I'm just like, I had this idea, this new idea, have this. But really what I'm doing is just telling everybody to do this, use this one tool, this one idea, and like every single time someone asks me for advice, I shove that idea to you. And it's just like complete, it's not, there's no sensory in it. It's just kind of this idea, this tool that someone can use. And another thing that about NT Blast, right, is that you kind of like take loosely connected sensory and try to pin it into this like um kind of organized concept, just like a filter. Um, and so Dave was talking about it, and he was like, you know, in any EDOM, in your position, when you're, for context, I make websites and stuff. Um, so he was like, in any DOM in your place would connect like a bunch of different ideas together, to put on the website. But for me, I'm like connecting these loose, very chaotic sensory and trying to like mush it into this one idea. And that's kind of how I see my NT blast play out usually is I try to get this one idea to work for everyone. And then I just try to shove it as many people as I can get. Like if when I'm cooking, right? It's like when people ask me, "Oh, what food should I make?" I have like I can already tell them one way of cooking that will always help them and like stuff like that. Definitely.
gotcha. I've always thought that masculine NI is the craziest like function. It's like people who are like crazy or they have masculine NI. No offense, but like
None
so
taken.
yeah, because I live with one, my girlfriend. So
Yeah.
and then like one of the funny conversations we had with that masculine NI was like she tunnel visions on like because she's an IJ, you're an IJ, so it's
Yeah.
like something pessimistic, right? It's like some kind of like chaotic bad thing that's gonna happen in the future, right? And then
Yeah.
I'm like, there's a lot of different possibilities that could happen with NE, right? Like, so why are
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
fishing in this one thing? And then my girlfriend looked at me. She's like, I'm not built that way. I can't see those other.
Not built that way.
Yeah, I can't see those other possibilities. Like that's why I need the tribe to tell me. I don't want like she said like friends or family or myself to tell her.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
exactly.
television and that one thing, and she'll be like neurotic about it. Do you see yourself doing that, or not so much because you're like an extroverted like IJ type?
I definitely do feel that, like 100%. And I guess the extroversion plays out like, and I am bothering the tribe constantly to figure out like, that one tunnel vision roadblock that I'm having. So like I see this future thing, and sure, like my friends tell me, hey, like that's not bound to happen or anything. That's just like one thing. In my head, I like can't escape the lock. It's like, what if that one thing happens and everything breaks? And so I bother everyone about it. I'm like, hey, have you talked about this recently? Is this gonna happen? And I talk to this other person, and like maybe this is where my ST play kind of like, is banging the tribe, trying to collect some data. And I try to collect as many people's opinions as I can. Like, hey, is this gonna break? Like, is this actually gonna work? And I get kind of scared about that. Um, and everyone tells me, dude, it's gonna be fine. But I just can't stop myself from thinking it, you know? And I can give you one example that like is happening like right now. So this entire time, I was so focused. So I have my phone up on this like bookcase thing, right? And I'm so scared. The entire time I was so scared that my books are gonna randomly fall, or like that the electricity was gonna stop, or like some weird things like that, right? And I was bothering the tribe, trying to figure out if the sensory was gonna be like chaotic or not. Um, so yeah, the SE chaos, definitely scary. Yeah.
It's interesting because you have double feminine ST play, but it seems like the masculine NI is still the one that's gonna take over no matter what. And like even if you're aware that like what you're picturing is crazy, and
Yeah,
then you're trying to fight it with like the ST play by gathering all that data,
definitely.
like all the tribe members. It still like the masculine NI is still making you neurotic no matter how hard you try.
Exactly.
It makes
Exactly.
like internal struggle as a result, I guess.
Yeah, like like I recognize how crazy I am. When people are like, dude, that's nuts. I'm like, I know. Like I'm not stupid. I can see that it's nuts, but like that's why I'm trying to like gather people's opinions to see if I'm crazy or not. Like
Are you
yeah.
trying to stop yourself from being crazy, or are you trying to overpower that masculine NI?
Hmm. I would say I'm trying to stop myself, usually. Like I recognize it, and then I'm like, oh God, like, maybe this is where the, double activated SE comes in. And I see like the NI is going kind of haywire. I try to bring in the SE a little bit, but ultimately, like everything bows down to the NI,
Right.
like, yeah, definitely.
Now, because you have double activated ST play, do you like doing collaborations in the physical world with people? And then are you very flexible when it comes to the collaboration?
Yeah, so I'll answer the second one first. So, in anywhere I've been or worked, I've always been like the person everyone's like, you're so easy to work with. Like, wow, I can just work with you. That's so wild. Um, and it's funny because usually the reason why is because there's some like double masculine ST somewhere else that's like super rigid about their ST, and everyone's like, oh, get away from that person. Like, and then they come to me because I'm so flexible about it. So I definitely see that playing out in my life, especially a lot with like planning things in the physical world, or like, events and hangouts and whatever. Um, people definitely look at me to go to like, let me just share an idea because they're just going to be super flexible with it, you know? Um, and in terms of just doing things collaboratively in the physical world, um, I don't know if I'm like the type of person to like always be in the physical world, like I don't know, like camping, or like like the kind of more rougher like sportsy type things. Definitely like um creating events and gatherings and um things like that. I definitely like gather everyone for that, and I'm very passionate about collaborating. Yeah.
maybe that's why you come across as an EP because you're so like chill with like people. Like it's
Yeah,
because the double feminine thing that it's like how can this guy be an IJ? But like but your like specific flavor of IJ is is the one that like the old Myers-Briggs would never figure out.
exactly. Yeah. And you know what's funny? A lot of people, well, when typing me, right? Um, they were looking at me. It was like, oh, context. Nobody ever typed me OI. Like, n not, I never got one OI typing by anyone, you know, up until like a week before my reveal. Um, and you know, the reasoning was like, dude, you're just so flexible. You're so chill with the tribe. Like, you don't try to like nudge them like really hard. You don't try to like, you know, do any of that stuff. And that was their kind of main reasoning. But I guess they didn't see it as the double feminine and then the double activated play, you know, because the stereotypical IJ is like what, like consume last. Um, and yeah, I guess they didn't see that.
Um, let's talk about your consume since you brought it up already. So you're not the consume last IJ, which is like the typical INTJ, right?
Yeah.
You have SF consume and it's activated. So let's talk about the different parts of it. Let's start about the SF side, which is like the cool, popular, and it's consume standpoint. So you're the one consuming that kind of stuff. Do you enjoy
Yeah.
consuming like trendy stuff or things that are just like, just whatever that is like cool, but more in an animalistic level because it's SF, right? You know?
Yeah. I think, you know, because it's on that third position, I'm not like horrible at it, you know, it's not like my worst thing ever. But it's definitely something I like kind of admire in people. Like, almost every relationship I've had is with consume, SF consume, you know, because I'm like, wow, can, you just like get stuff and it's cool. Like, how do you do that? So it's a point of intrigue, I think. And I definitely try to like do it. You know, I think it shows up in my clothing a lot. Like, sure, I like almost never buy things, but when I do, I try to like be really like, you know, SF consume about it. I try to get what's popular, try to, you know, really take it in, if I am doing it, you know?
So it's not a blind spot, which is good. At least
Yeah,
you're not like
yeah,
cringy INTJ that like completely miss like their external presentation. Essentially,
exactly. Yeah, definitely not like completely missing it. Now, like people may comment sure about like, hey, have you worn that shirt like 3 times in a row? Like, you know, like
yeah, you're
like
still an
little things
IJ.
like that. You know, like sometimes, you know, it happens, but it's not like my life isn't surrounded by that. Like I can get by. It's like whatever, you know?
Yeah, it's enough. It's enough.
Yeah, it's enough.
Yeah,
That's all I need. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, that's cool. That's like my NF consume. It's like enough. Like I do
Yeah.
it enough that it's not like messing me up. Um, but speaking of NF, let's talk about your last animal now.
And
Double
that's
masculine NF sleep. This is a really good sleep actually. One of my favorite sleep animals.
yeah.
NF sleep. And what I like about it is like kind of like the code that you kind of live in, like that you adhere to. I think that's really cool. It's really powerful. Um,
Yeah.
so do you have any personal code that you adhere to or mantra? It's
Oh,
something. It could be a saying, or it could just be like something that you made up yourself. Do you have
yeah.
anything particular?
So it's definitely not like a saying, you know, it's not in words,
Yeah.
but there's this kind of vision I have. I guess it's more like feminine sensory. This kind of vision I have, um, which is really pushy, I think. You know, that I think the double masculine sleep, especially is like NF, really shows in my life because sure, like I don't tap into it a lot, but when I do, it's like I get a very intense like vision with my life, you know, my values and my future. Um, and that's definitely something like that I try to tap into whenever I'm in it. But the thing is, because it's like double masculine, it tends to be like when I jump on that last animal, it's like such a flip. Like my life flips. It's like whatever I'm doing, it just goes another direction, you know, because I'm finally getting to process my feelings and my future, right? Um, and so it's like my day to day is just like, you know, like do this. People kind of want to do this. So I'm gonna do that. And then when I finally like end of the month, um, I get to that sleep. It's like, oh shoot, like what do I want? Like, how do I want my future to be? How do I feel? Stuff like that. Like my path just switches, like, and that's something I've actually really observed in my life. It's like a constant worry about like um my feelings and like my future surrounding it. Um, and it's actually funny. In my typing video, right? A lot of people type me NF sleep first because I worried about my sleep so much. But yeah,
Yeah, double masculine sleep is something that is interesting because I notice people that have it in a double masculine position or flavor, I guess you could say. Even if
yeah,
it's you have access to it. Because like when I got type also, they were like, you can use your sleep and your sleep lasts. What the hell? Like that shouldn't be, right? Um,
exactly.
and like, I mean, obviously I've had like life circumstance that forced me there. But like I think what I want to ask you though is which part of the sleep do you have more trouble with? Is it sleeping? Like, do you have trouble with physically sleeping? Or do you have more trouble with like processing your emotions? Which of those two is the harder one?
Hmm. Okay. So I think the harder one, or I guess I should say the one I care more about, like that I worry more about, is definitely my feelings part. You know?
Or which is harder?
Oh, shoot, I gotta think. I gotta sleep process. Um, I think maybe what's harder is the actual sleeping part.
I
Yeah.
figured. I figured. Anyways, so the reason why I figured that's the case is because your sensory is in the bottom, and the sensory is the
Yeah.
physical, and then your FI is your FI is third, right? So
Yeah.
um, with that being said, though, when you go to sleep at night,
Okay.
because you have double masculine sleep, is there times where you can't sleep because the double masculine sleep is forcing you to process your feelings when in fact
Wow.
you're
Yeah.
sleeping?
Yes. I've described these states to some people just as a joke. I'm like, I'm sleeping, but I'm not sleeping. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, sometimes at night, like randomly, like my sleep just pops up and it's so pushy. It's just like, hey, what do you want to do? What are your values, your future? And then I stay up at night, like thinking about it. You know what I mean? Instead of sleeping, I'm sleeping. Um, and yeah, that definitely happens sometimes. And yeah, like what you said before about just like literally having trouble sleeping. Um, I think my issue with that is it's my last priority. It's just like um I want to make sure I'm done with the day and like have done everything I need to do before I sleep. And so it's like sleep is just like, oh, like I can sleep tomorrow. I can sleep on the weekend. That doesn't matter. Um, and that's definitely like the complete ignoring thing that I'm doing with it. And the feelings, I definitely think about them more. I'm like, hey, feelings do matter. Like I can double decide that, like I'm not completely on the TE. And yeah, definitely.
So, dude, we both have FI, right? But the difference is you
Yeah.
have NI and have SI. And because of my girlfriend, because she's like similar type as you, except like lead sleep instead of sleep last like you.
Yeah.
Um, the one thing I noticed is like for you guys, I noticed that you guys have trouble pinpointing the exact word for that emotion that you're, let's say, struggling with. And because I have SI, I can specifically tell you like the emotion I struggle with, and I can even put the order of my struggle because of the SI step by step, right? Which is really
Yeah.
helpful, right? Which is really helpful. But for you guys, I mean, I see benefits of the NF sleep too because the benefit that I see is that you can see the kind of character that you want to be in the future, and then you can prioritize being that person over and over again, especially if you're tapping into your sleep, so that in a long period of time, especially like David Goggins, a good example, same animals, same and same function stack as you, just different
Yeah.
order, just the opposite. but also sleep last like you, right? And also double feminine. So like a lot of similarities from you, right? And then like the kind of the person that he wants to be is like the hardest person in the world, like the toughest person, right? So
Yeah.
and because like he tapped into that like NF sleep, it's like I want to be the toughest person in the world. He's doing it, and that and he's actually known for that, right? So in your case, um, who do you want to be? And yeah, I know that's like a loaded question, but who do you want to be for that NF sleep?
Yeah, it's weird because again, like you said, I can't pinpoint it to words. It's like I can't think of the specific word that I want to assign to my like who I want to be, but like this character, I think I definitely don't want to be like the David Goggins, the fiercest, most powerful. That's not like what my flavor is, you
Right.
know. Um, but like who I want to be would be definitely someone someone probably oh I like cannot pinpoint it to words. You know what I mean? I think the best way to explain it would be I want to be someone who can like really build and help other people and like be seen as that person that can, up there that's able kind of able to go around to everyone. Kind of like the what do you call it? Like the good king, bad king, like the bad king is like in his tower all the time and like, it's like a tyrant. And then a good king is someone who like actually is with the people and cares about them and stuff. That's kind of like how I want to be seen in the future, I guess just in general. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's very vague and I'm not like I'm still in the processing stage of who I want to be, you know. It's like it's weird having blast but not sleep because it's like the blast, I'm like, okay, like I have the plan, I have the plan for everyone. We're just gonna do this. We're gonna roll with that. But then like if someone asks, what's your plan? Like then I'm like, I it escapes my mind
Right.
immediately. Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough, man. Yeah, that's annoying too because I've spoken to people with like NF sleep loss and they can plan for everyone except themselves. So it's super annoying for sure. Um, but I so the way the what you describe sounds like you want to be like the benevolent king instead of like the evil
Yeah.
king, kind of like Mr. Beast, as opposed to like Andrew Tate or something ish.
Yeah, sure. You could say that. Yeah.
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 What is there? So is there anything selfish that you want to be like just for you? It's not for anyone else. It's like it's for you specifically. You know.
Interesting. Selfish. I think usually in terms of like selfishness, I like secretly, like um kind of want to have the best things and like be like the best at something in kind of like a secret way. I think so. It's like, when you're playing a game, right? And you're with your friends, and everyone has different kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? And everyone's different skills. And I think like, but just in general, I'm using game analogy. Just in general, I kind of want to have like the best items and the best skill in that thing, but I don't want to show it to people because I'm scared they're gonna judge me for it and stuff. Definitely.
So it sounds like you crave the SE at the bottom. You want to gather physical,
Yeah. Like,
and you want it to be the SF, but it's cool. But then you don't
yeah,
want people to judge because you're like insecure about it because it's like a low. It's like your third and fourth function, right? And then
yeah,
yeah, so you're like shit, like.
yeah, exactly.
But then
It
you're like
just like,
I want it, but I'm like kind of embarrassed about it too. So
yeah, kind of like the SF stuff, just like or I got just sensory in general, like doing crazy things, get traveling everywhere,
yeah,
like that type of stuff. I want to collect it all, but I'm like so scared to do that. You know what I mean? And it's like I secretly want to be the person that's like collected it all, done everything is the best at everything,
yeah,
kind of like that, just consuming everything. You know what I mean? But that's like, then I'm like, oh God, people are gonna judge me for it. Yeah.
Which area do you want to do that in? Like, what do you want to collect? Because like I have an INTJ friend. He's a lot older than me. He's like 20 years older than me, but like he's an
Mhm.
INTJ consume last, and he's collecting every country in the world. So he's trying to go to every single country in the world. And I actually think it's cool that he's doing that because he's a consume last IJ. So for him,
Yeah.
like lock onto that as like whatever that he decided to consume is super cool, right? So what is like one area that you wanted to be like the
It's
hyper consume in?
Yeah, it's funny because that's like one of the same areas I want to do. That's been my goal. I'm like, yeah, when I'm like way older, I'm gonna visit every single country. So it's funny that you
Almost
say
doing it
that
already.
the INTJ, yeah, I'm following in his footsteps, like that's definitely like going to every country ever and just consuming all of that in. And then another thing would be like then sleeping on that. You know what I mean? And actually processing that and like going to every country, processing, kind of myself in the process. And that's kind of like my big goal, definitely, like visiting everywhere I can.
I think Dave said in one of his older videos that like that gathering that you're mentioning should be actually done when you're younger, not when you're older, because you said you're gonna do it when you're older, right? So
Yeah,
because like that's the raw materials you're gonna use to build up your identity. And if you do it when you're older, then you're like missing out on having like the strongest identity possible because you don't have the raw materials to build it with. So you actually have to do it like at least like at your age, you need to start doing like some of it already. Like even booking a 2 week trip a year to
yeah,
like one country or something. Because like you need the materials. Right now you have no materials to work with. So then how are you gonna build up your identity? You're going out helping everyone, but then you're not helping yourself, and then
yeah,
like the saying, right? Like um you can't help other people if you don't help yourself first. Put on your seatbelts first, or the oxygen mask, or
yeah,
yeah, and then you're like useless to the tribe if you're not like the hero, which is like if you want to be the role model, then you need to do like heroic stuff, and the heroic stuff is like travel, for example, right?
yeah.
So it's like, yeah, if you want to do that, I wouldn't wait till you're old. Like, obviously you could finish your journey when you're older, but you need to start now so you can collect the materials.
Yeah, it's weird because it's like I know he talks about, and it's also like a general advice thing that people tell you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, explore when you're young. And it's so weird because I understand that, then I get so conflicted with my OI and like everything has to be like thought out and planned first,
Right.
then I can explore. And
Yeah.
like so it's like a weird conflict. And I'm sure like Dave probably learned this too. When he was in his 20s, at first he was probably like zoned in on his OI, then he was
Right.
like, shit, I shouldn't be doing that, you know? So it's definitely a source of conflict. I'm like, should I like go out, do whatever, don't build on whatever I'm trying to do, or build first and then explore. It's actually one of the things I'm trying to process, but I'm struggling to process. Just like, kind of what to do in that sense.
Yeah, well, I'm surrounded with a lot of IJs. Like my mom's an IJ. I just know a lot of IJs in general, and because like I'm an
Yeah.
ENFP, I like naturally gravitate towards IJs. But like the one thing I noticed that IJs that are like doing the travel thing is they use the tribe. They actually go to the tribes like, "Hey, you going anywhere? Can I come with you?" It's like, so if you're scared of like going out of your OI, you just have to use the tribe, man. You're a double decider. Fucking use like your
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
I
that's
don't
a
know.
really good point. And it's actually funny. I drag people in so much, they get annoyed. Like I'm so afraid of like just doing the new thing that I like okay, this is the stupidest example. Okay, I was too scared to bike in my neighborhood. Just biking,
That's
right?
pathetic, man. No offense.
I was I was trying to go, like this was my first ever time like really biking,
Yeah.
and so I was trying to like bike like what, 10 miles to this one place.
Yeah.
And so I was so scared. I didn't know the rules. I didn't know like like how was the sensory gonna go? Like where do you are you supposed to like cross the sidewalk here or there? Like do you walk your bike out or like just bunch of random shit?
Right.
and I dragged in my friends, like two of them, like for like three times, just dragged them with me. They were like, "Are you kidding me? Like you can't. It's literally just going outside and biking." And I was like, "I gotta have you with me, man." And that idea plays so much in my life. Yeah,
Hey man, even though it's sad, you gotta do it.
I
That's
gotta do it.
yeah. It's all
Yeah,
good, man. You gotta do what you gotta do. There's no shame in outsourcing this kind of stuff, you know?
yeah,
Like, yeah, yes, for sure. So like, yeah, I wouldn't, yeah, definitely keep doing it. You started with a biking, which is awesome. Now do it for trips. Go to your friends and be like, hey guys, where are you guys going? Can I come? You know, just be like,
yeah, yeah.
just like be shameless about it. Just like, can I come with you guys? You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it's like, because of my double deciding, I'm not exactly like afraid of their judgment. You
yeah,
know, when you like just ask for something like, and it's so silly and stupid,
yeah,
and you're like, what the hell? Like, are you kidding me? I don't really get judgment from that. I don't feel indifferent.
yeah,
I feel indifferent, sorry. Um, and yeah, it's just like, okay, cool. Like, anyway, are we doing this now?
yeah.
Like I don't give a fuck about your judgment. Are we gonna do the thing? Um, and yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's definitely true.
All right, dude. Last question I have for you today is your social type. So you got type as a two.
Yeah.
So responsibility slash friends, right? The friends one you kind of talked about already. It's kind of obvious. Your high friends. Um, what about the responsibility part? So it's kind of new in the community, so it's not finished yet when it comes to the social type.
Yeah.
Well, I have my own theory that I've kind of like been finding. You know, for example, like if you're a three, like the word responsibility, I think a lot of people hate that they're not like a two because they don't have the responsibility thing. But like the way I see it is kind of like it's like what you're responsible for really. Because like I think if you're a three, you're just responsible for yourself and like this one thing. Well, if you're
Yeah.
two, you're responsible for everyone, including yourself, right? But then twos take it to the next level where like you're like hyper responsible for everything. So
Everything,
you don't really
everyone.
see this,
Yeah.
which is good, right? That's like a superpower.
Yeah.
But then you can't specialize. But then you're an IJ, which is weird, right?
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah. Like,
just like
yeah, sorry.
Blast is correlated with three, and that's your first animal. And then David Shan said that the animal overpowers the social type. So as a result, you get a cognitive dissonance, right? Your play is okay because you're like your high play and your saver friend. So that's like in cohesion, no problem, right? So it's like your first animal is in conflict with with your social type. So can you share a little bit about like that cognitive dissonance?
Yeah, sure. And like the first thing you said about like the word responsibility kind of gets like muddled up. I think that's definitely true. It may not have been like the perfect word to use, but like, threes are responsible just for their thing, and twos are just everything,
Every
or just ones too. Um, and yeah, so that I was actually thinking about this yesterday, right? Like I'm an IJ, a blaster, but I'm two and running around grabbing as many responsibilities as I can. Um, and it's weird because that's actually been one of the things in my life that is kind of like this reoccurring pattern where it's like, yeah, I'm trying to like hone in, right? Forget the consume, just trying to blast this kind of one area in my life. But then as I'm doing it, I get a call from this one person. I have to do that now. I put it on, I clunk it in. Oh, like this other person needs me to do this. It's not even related to the thing I'm doing. Just like, and then I slowly lose my specialization um and all that with my blast. And so that's kind of been the struggle. Like, oh, do I like accept more responsibility, or do I like just continue with my blast, just forgetting it? For sure, it's definitely a tear. When they talk about incongruency, it's like in my mind, I'm trying to, grab everything I can, put it on my back. But then at the same time, I'm also really trying to hone in and try to work and build this one thing. And so it is kind of incongruent. Same with the play. It's like, oh, you have a plan, but then you like share it to everyone and it gets chaotic.
yeah.
It's like the same idea with two. Yeah.
Um. So they said that as like the way to find out what your social type is just to look at your life pile essentially.
Yeah.
For me, for example, like they were like when I asked Dave and Shan for my social type, they were indecisive whether I was a 4 or a 2. And then
Mm.
like some community members thinks I'm a 4 because like, oh Kendrick, you've been interviewing people for so long and you've been just doing this one thing. So that means you're a special, that means you have specialization. That means you're a 4. Then you're 4,
Yeah.
right? And then but then some people say, no, you're a 2, Kendrick. You're like, you know, responsible for a lot of stuff. You're building a business, like that's like, 2s are like very entrepreneurial. So, and then if you're looking life pile as like the way to determine what your social type is, I look at my life pile, and then people are like, yeah, you interview people for like 5 years already, therefore you're a 4. And I'm like, actually, this is just one of my YouTube channels. I have another one. I have a travel YouTube channel. I have a
Yeah.
travel blog. In my day job, I work as in fitness, and in fitness, I work as a personal trainer. I have my yoga certification. I teach spin,
Yeah.
teach seniors, and then I also work as a recruiter for a travel nurse company. So if you look at my life pile, it's like a bunch of different shit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's just
exactly.
everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like the best job I've ever had was working for the elections when they made me a supervisor, and I was like moving all the pieces, and then I was like, wow, this is like the perfect job is to manage people, right?
Yeah.
And then when I talked to Dave before, like in one of our coaching calls before, like he said
Yeah.
that like even if you look at his life, but it looks like he's just doing OPS, but no, he has that airplane thing that he was doing, like the what do you call that thing, like the radio controlled
RC
RC,
airplane.
yeah, the
Yeah.
RC stuff. And then even before that, he was working as a personal trainer, right? And then before,
Yeah.
and also as a manager for Gold's Gym. So he has like different life piles too. He's not doing like one thing, right?
Yeah,
That's why
exactly.
he's a 2, even though he's an IJ. So, um, what does your life pile look like, as a 2?
Yeah. I think my life pile is just like, in the moment, I'm looking back and I'm like, oh my God, there's just like I'm every single couple months I try to start something like with a bunch of people because they want me to, and I immediately hop on the responsibility. Like let's see, like I'm trying to make like a platform right now, two platforms to just add another one. And then like another person asked me to be like the graphic design like part of their team, and I'm like, I'm so torn, like, do I take that? Do I not? And then like, some other people ask me, hey, can you do this with me? And I put it on my pile, and it's just like now I can't specialize. I'm like, wait, which one do I do? They're all like falling apart,
Right.
and it's
Yeah.
that's definitely my life pal. And I want to add one more thing too with the seeing Dave or like you, for example, like just from one era. I think like some people confuse it. Like, yeah, you see Dave doing OPS all the time because that's your only way of seeing him.
Right.
Like someone else in his life will be like, damn, you're doing this and you're doing that. Like, where are you? What are you trying to do, man?
Right.
Um, yeah, exactly. And same could be said for you, if someone's like actually in your life, because I can only see you as the interview guy,
Right.
or like the travel guy. I don't know anything else.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely perception. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for social type, it's best to type yourself versus a tribe type you. I think the
Yeah,
tribe is better at giving feedback on your animals, I think, or even like sexual modality. But I think social type definitely is something that people know inherently what they are. It's kind of hard
yeah,
not to tell. Like I told my girlfriend she's a 4 because she has no ambition. She just wants to hang out with friends, even though she's like an introvert. And she's
yeah,
like, yeah, I've always felt like something, like I felt like should I be ashamed if I have no ambition, kind of deal. Uh,
yeah, yeah,
I'm like, no, you're a 4. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, Um,
yeah,
and obviously you have to specialize, but like that's like the thing that you have to do eventually. But anyways, so the thing about being a 2, so there's 2 other cross checks that I want to cover with you about being a 2.
got
First one is independence. So 2s seek independence fiercely, right? Like
yeah,
that's why a lot of 2s are into entrepreneurship, or even management, because when you're management, um, you're the boss essentially. So no one's like controlling you, all right?
exactly.
And then if you're an entrepreneur, then you control your fate essentially, because like whether you succeed or not, it's all up to you. You're responsible for your fate.
For everything.
Not
Yeah,
responsible for no one else is responsible for your paycheck. um so that's always been attractive to me. It's like I want to stand on my own 2 feet. I don't want like to need the tribe to make my paycheck essentially, to make.
Yeah.
So that's always been something that I've always wanted. That's why I have the travel YouTube channel and blog, and I have the
Yeah,
personality.
you're just trying to be free, you know what I mean? And I
I want to be
think,
independent, right?
yeah,
So for you, how does that manifest in your life, where like that need and craving for independence, like where does it manifest?
yeah. So, this is honestly like one of the reasons I thought I was EP. It's like I'm always craving to not be controlled, quote unquote. You know what I mean? So it's like, the managerial position. It's like I want to be able to take on that responsibility, kind of have the independence like up there, or like entrepreneur, like the idea of um kind of being in this giant team where I'm only a part of it. What is it? Like I'm the cog, I'm not the driver or something like that. And that definitely like just feeling wise, just animalistically, in my head that's like bad, move away from that. And I definitely try to seek out and try to build like more entrepreneurship type things, or try to like be more managerial, because that independence, knowing I'm the driver and not a cog, is like one of the most important things to me. You know what I mean? So the social two aspect of that responsibility is really important.
Um, Now we talked about you know wanting independence, being a manager so that no one can control you, blah blah, all that stuff. The last cross check for social type two is love language, and they said that it's acts of service and quality time essentially, right? Um, which makes sense. If you're a manager, you want your employee to help you, right? Or if you're an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, you want people to either want to have employees or freelancers help you out with like certain tasks, right? Uh,
Yeah.
to so you can get to the vision of that, how that business would be, or for if you're a manager, like how your department, um, you know, how it would.
Yeah.
Let's say you're a project manager, right? Like how it would end, right? So, do you relate with that sentiment that your love language would then be acts of service as number one, followed by quality time second?
I think, well, okay, first of all, like giving or receiving. I think
Oh,
love languages, oh, both. Okay.
I think love
Um,
language is actually both.
really.
Yeah.
I could see that. I could see that. I think if it were to be both, I think quality time first, um, and then acts of service definitely second, and then third would be like words of affirmation or something. Um, yeah, like the quality time, being able to like uh spend the time with the people, is definitely like the most important part. I think like the acts of service part, I know you said it's both, but like personally, like I like to do the acts of service to people, and then what I get back is the quality time, kind of this like relationship with the love languages. Um, so it's like I do things for people, kind of acts of service, like, hey, here's your breakfast. Like I made it all for you. And then they later spend the quality time with me, because I did that. So it's kind of like a circle, you know what I mean?
I don't know, man. I'm gonna call BS here because when I was younger, I felt similarly to what you just said.
Okay.
I thought it was quality time and acts of service was kind of more like secondary, and I do like to acts of service for people. And then as
Yeah.
I got older, and I really like use my sleep to like really compare at like a micro level which one made me feel better,
Yeah.
felt like more love, and I build a bond with the other person.
Okay.
When I look at it from like a micro, like a magnifying glass, I saw that the acts of service slightly trump the quality time. It's especially as you
Hmm.
get older, when your DI starts getting stronger, and then
Yeah.
your number one, the ego starts like getting activated. Um, I think you'll see that there is like a tiny bit over the acts of service. Uh,
I could see that. I could see that because right now it's like I guess the main thing, the reason why for me personally, it's like a little like it's the opposite. Like quality time is a little bit higher for me right now, is because the I guess I haven't received enough acts of service for me to fully process
Right.
how it feels. So I actually do think you could be right. Um, about the processing thing. Like once I processed, I realized it's actually a little bit higher. Could be. I just haven't processed enough acts of service, how I really feel when they happen. But when someone does something for me, right? Um, that's definitely like, oh my God, you saved me. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, I
You
get
like,
that for sure.
yeah. In a way, it could be like the two thing, like you thank God you just saved a responsibility. Like, because internally you don't want to have that many responsibilities. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and someone taking an act away from you is like, oh, thank God. Like I don't have to do that anymore, type thing. Yeah.
I think once your one gets activated, like your ego, because you have
Yeah.
demon ego like I do, because we're both twos, right?
Yeah.
Uh, like mine activated when I was 32 years old. That's when I saw. That's when I started. Like around 32, when I decided I want to be an entrepreneur. Like when I made a
Mhm.
decision, and
Yeah.
I started having my own projects, and those projects is to build a business for me. It's not for anyone else. It's my business. I have my
Yeah.
name on it, right? And then when I started getting like access service for that, to help me achieve that, that's when I'm like, oh my God, it feels so good, you know? So,
Yeah.
so I think when you get to the point where it's your own project, and if people are going out of their way to help you, that's when you're like, holy shit, maybe
I
there's,
yeah.
yeah,
I think so too.
yeah, because like
Definitely.
I think you're still young, and I don't think it's like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know your ego's activated yet, but when it does, when it turns on, it's gonna be completely different because you'll become more douchey actually. Um,
Douchebag. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you kind of have to be a little bit of a douchebag when you're like building yourself up, right? So
Yeah.
you cannot avoid it, right? Like a lot of people think Andrew Tate is a douchebag, right? And he's the number one. So like
Yeah, I do think you have to be a little bit like shove if you really want to like, you know, be yourself and build yourself. You do kind of have to be an asshole sometimes. Like it's just
yeah,
the truth, you know what I mean?
house to the
Like
territory, man.
yeah. Like you do kind of have to be an asshole sometimes, but yeah, it's just like the feeling of being an asshole is kind of shit, but I haven't gotten the courage to like be over that. You know what I mean? Like whenever I think about the decision of taking a responsibility on, I'm thinking like if I reject it, then that's just like an asshole move, you know what I mean? But or like when I don't help someone, but I gotta realize like, hey, like sleep, it's me. Like I'm
Right.
just doing my thing. And I definitely haven't got to that point, but hopefully I will soon. Yeah.
All right. One last comment
All right.
before we end the interview. I think you need to get burned enough times before that gets turned on, and then you're like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm gonna
I think it's
I'm gonna do
true.
it
I
for
think
you.
you're right.
And it's double masculine, right? So there's gonna be definitely a big fuck you. It's gonna be like very aggressive.
Yeah.
You know what? Fuck all of you. I'll show you who I am. It's kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
sometimes like when something angers you enough, you kind of feel it, feel the spark of like,
it is.
I
Yeah,
want to do it so bad, but you have to get burned more. But
yeah.
yeah,
You have to keep getting burned, especially for us. We have double feminine play, so it's
yeah,
gonna be like, and also double decider, which is kind of makes it also annoying. It's like we forgive the tribe already. It's
yeah,
like
exactly.
it's so
Just like
annoying.
yeah, they do something and we're just like we're mad, and then we're like, actually, I understand. I
Yeah,
guess it's
so
like
annoying, man, with double deciding.
yeah,
All right, dude. So we'll wrap it up here. So thanks coming out, Sujal, for sharing more about your type and your experience being this
yeah,
you know,
man.
this like glass lizard type. All
Yeah, and good talking to you too.
right, man. Peace out. Take care.
See ya.